You know, Caitlin Clark is getting back on the golf course again this offseason, participating in the Annika golf outing. And she has a couple of caddies that are going to be taking the course alongside her in the form of Sophie Cunningham and Lexie Hull.
Caitlin Clark just showed up to her golf tournament with not one, but two caddies, Lexie Hull and Sophie Cunningham. Here's what's happening. Caitlin Clark is playing in a celebrity golf tournament next week, the Annika Pro-Am at Pelican Golf Club in Florida, the kind of off-season event athletes jump into when they're not grinding in the weight room or hiding from the world to recover. She needed caddies, and not just random volunteers in khaki shorts, but special guests who would actually make the whole thing fun and media-friendly. Are you excited to see Caitlin, Lexie, and Sophie on the green? Let us know in the comments below.
Sophie and Lexie kind of called this shot, or especially Sophie did, back before when it was first announced that Caitlin was going to do this event again. You could get into the comments section. You see there's Caitlin Clark with Nelly Korda, who was impressed with Caitlin's poise on the golf course last year, even with the crowds, and said she got into women's basketball because of Caitlin. Sophie Cunningham says Caitlin Clark need a couple of caddies. Lexie Hull with the smiling face or whatever that is, and some beer cheers. And Lexie Hull says, sign us up. And you thought that was the end of it, right?
Enter Lexie Hull and Sophie Cunningham, two of Clark's closest teammates, one a rising fan favorite, the other a firecracker with a question mark over her future, suddenly popping up as her personal golf assistants. They're carrying the bags, giving mock serious advice, calling out shot selections, and turning a relaxed exhibition into must-watch personality content. On the surface, it's nothing but good vibes. Teammates bonding, athletes unwinding, everyone laughing it up in the off-season.
It has actually happened. It has actually happened because, as you can see here, Sophie Cunningham was announced as a guest caddy. I don't know if she's technically Caitlin Clark's caddy or not, but it says they'll be alongside Caitlin Clark, Nelly Korda, and in June for an unforgettable day at Pelican Golf Club on November 12th. And you have Lexie Hull. There you go. So Lexie and Sophie both taking part as caddies.
But look a little closer, and it gets a lot more interesting. Sophie Cunningham's future with the Fever has been one of the quiet dramas of the offseason. The rumors have been swirling for months. Is she staying, or will she get a massive deal elsewhere? Fans have noticed that Fever social media has barely acknowledged her lately. It's been weirdly silent, especially compared to Clark, Mitchell, and Boston's non-stop features. Naturally, that silence has been fueling speculation about something happening behind the scenes. So now Sophie suddenly shows up as Caitlin Clark's caddy? Publicly. At a major event. In a branded announcement. People immediately started connecting dots. Maybe this means she's staying. Maybe this means the chemistry is strong. Maybe this is the Fever quietly signaling unity. Or maybe Sophie just looked at her calendar, saw it was empty, and decided that carrying bags on a golf course sounded more fun than sitting at home. At this point, nobody knows for sure.
Cunningham is now taking her talents to the golf course, where she will join Clark for the Annika Pro-Am tournament next week. Unlike Clark, however, Cunningham will not play in the tournament. She and Fever teammate Lexie Hull have committed to be Clark's guest caddies.
The announcement came straight from Gainbridge, a company closely tied to Indiana sports and the Fever organization. They revealed that Sophie Cunningham and Lexie Hull will be joining professional golfer Nelly Korda and rising star Lauren Nguyen as Caitlin's caddies for the event on November 12th. Just like that, fans suddenly have a new thing to look forward to. Their favorite basketball players playing hype squad at a golf tournament.
Caitlin Clark has opened up the opportunity for both Sophie Cunningham and Lexie Hull to be a part of this huge non-basketball event. So again, when you talk about Caitlin Clark opening things up for other people, it's not just on the basketball court. That is the kind of influence she has.
And honestly, this should be way bigger news than it is. A year ago, if someone had said Caitlin Clark is playing in a celebrity golf tournament and two WNBA players are her caddies, it would have broken the internet. It would have been trending on Twitter, plastered across ESPN, written up in global sports blogs, and debated on talk shows. It would have been a whole cultural moment. But now, it's happening almost quietly. Barely any buzz, barely any conversation. Which brings us to the real issue. The WNBA offseason has been disturbingly silent. Like someone flipped the lights off after Caitlyn's sophomore season and forgot to turn them back on. This is the same league that was everywhere last year, breaking ratings, selling out arenas, becoming a nightly headline. But now, crickets. Think about where we were almost 2 years ago. Caitlyn was still in college, but her arrival was treated like the second coming of women's basketball. Every game she played drew millions. Every highlight went viral. People who didn't even know what channel the WNBA aired on suddenly cared. Deeply. The league's popularity skyrocketed the moment she turned pro. Her rookie season fueled record numbers across the board. Viewership, attendance, merchandise, everything. And then, somewhere between the start of her sophomore year and the end of the playoffs, that fire dimmed. The momentum stalled. The buzz evaporated. The league that had all the attention in the world somehow let it slip through its fingers. And now, during the offseason, the exact time when the WNBA should be capitalizing on Caitlin Clark's celebrity, hyping stories, building engagement, and keeping fans plugged in, everything has gone quiet. Too quiet. Which is exactly why this golf moment, featuring Caitlin Clark, Lexie Hull, and Sophie Cunningham, matters more than people realize. It's one of the few bright spots breaking through the silence, and it might just be the spark fans cling to while the league sleeps through the most important offseason in years. The real issue behind all of this is the way the league handled Caitlin Clark throughout the season. Instead of celebrating her arrival and riding the tidal wave of attention she brought, the WNBA kept surrounding her with negativity. Every week there was another round of criticism, another debate about whether she deserved the spotlight, another veteran taking a shot in an interview. It felt less like a sports league and more like a never-ending culture war. And for new fans who just wanted to enjoy basketball, it was exhausting. They tuned in to watch games, not to get dragged into some bizarre moral test where liking Caitlin Clark somehow made you the villain. One person in NBA media even said that in today's WNBA climate, it's become a problem if you don't hate Caitlin Clark. Think about that. In the NBA, Skip Bayless makes a living yelling about LeBron James. And even he's considered a troll, not the moral compass of the sport. But in the WNBA, the expectation flipped. If you weren't constantly nitpicking Caitlin or calling her overrated, you were treated like you weren't on the right side. That's not growth, that's toxicity. Caitlin Clark showing up at a celebrity golf event with Sophie Cunningham and Lexie Hull should be the kind of lighthearted off-season moment that keeps fans engaged. Instead, it's just another tiny blip drowned out by the silence around the league. But the Sophie Cunningham angle is worth talking about. She was one of the Fever's most valuable pieces last season, a tough-minded vet who brought spacing, physicality, and leadership. She's exactly the kind of player a young team desperately needs. Yet somehow, fans kept calling for her removal last year for reasons that had nothing to do with basketball. That's exactly the kind of nonsense that's been hurting the WNBA's public image. So now, seeing Sophie show up to be Caitlin's caddy creates this moment of, wait, does this mean she's staying? Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. Maybe she just likes Caitlin. Maybe she just wanted to have fun on a sunny afternoon. But because the league has been so quiet, people are grasping at anything they can find. That's what happens when real storylines go missing. Fans start inventing them. Lexie Hull being there is more straightforward. She and Caitlin have chemistry, fans love them together, and Lexie's personality fits perfectly with this kind of laid-back event. There's no drama there, just two teammates having a great time on the golf course. But the bigger point is how surreal it is that something like this is barely getting noticed. Last year, anything connected to Caitlin Clark went nuclear. The simplest interaction, a handshake, a tweet, a post-game quote, turned into viral content. Now, she shows up at a celebrity tournament with two of her teammates, and it just drifts by with almost no attention. Some of that is natural. The initial hype always cools. But the WNBA couldn't afford that drop. They needed to turn last year's wave of new fans into a stable foundation. Instead, they let those fans slip away. The crazy part is that if Lexie Hull had been announced as Caitlin's caddy last offseason, this would have been pick-upable by ESPN, People Magazine, SportsCenter, Barstool, Bleacher Report, everyone. It would have generated interviews, live streams, features, memes. Now, barely anyone seems to realize it's happening, and that's not Caitlin Clark's failure. That's the league's failure to keep the casual audience engaged. To be fair, the golf tournament will probably be fun. Caitlin's got a great swing for someone who barely has time to practice, and her comfort with fans makes any public appearance entertaining. Add Sophie's energy and Lexie's comedic timing, and the whole thing has the potential to be a highlight of the offseason, if people actually see it. But that's the problem. We don't know if they will. When the WNBA went silent this offseason, they created a vacuum. No real updates, no big storylines, no off-season media push. And now, even moments involving their most popular player feel like they're evaporating into thin air. This is Caitlin Clark, the biggest driver of interest the league has ever had, the breakout name who brought millions of new eyes to the sport. And yet, an off-season event with her teammates is happening almost unnoticed. If that doesn't sound the alarm bells inside the WNBA offices, nothing will. They desperately need off-season content to keep fans engaged. The NBA mastered this years ago. Free agency, trade rumors, draft buzz, soap opera-level drama. The WNBA, by contrast, always runs quiet. And silence is the enemy of momentum. This leads back to Sophie Cunningham. Her joining the event shouldn't be analyzed like it's some big signal. But because the league isn't giving fans anything else to talk about, people cling to things like this. That's not healthy for a growing league, or its players. And yes, the Fever's social media barely posting about Sophie is strange. If she's important, they should spotlight her. If they're unsure about her future, they shouldn't let that uncertainty spill into the public. But here we are, in speculation land, because no one's saying anything. The truth is simple. The WNBA had a golden moment. They had mainstream attention they'd been begging for. Then they let negativity, poor decision-making, and radio silence dismantle it. Now, the league feels invisible again, and that's tragic for every player who worked hard to make the game relevant. Caitlin Clark playing golf with her teammates should be a fun, uplifting off-season story. Instead, it's fading into the background noise of a league that forgot how to stay relevant. A year ago, this would have been a headline. Today, it's barely a whisper. And soon enough, the WNBA might regret pushing away their golden goose, Caitlin Clark. Are you excited to see Caitlin, Lexie, and Sophie on the green? Let us know in the comments below. Like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss out. Click the video on the screen, and we will see you in the next one.